So it probably comes as no surprise that a lot of people experience joint and back pain, right? A lot of people think that they need some surgery or some crazy medications to get rid of this pain. However, a lot of the time, it really just comes from overly tight muscles. So this tightening can happen in a multitude of different ways, but just a couple examples would be micro tears from lifting, sitting all day, sustaining an injury, etc. So this is why I think everybody should foam roll and stretch, especially if you're a lifter, to really ease a lot of these aches and pains. Most people understand that you should massage your muscles and stretch them to prevent injury and while you're warming up, but a lot of people don't really understand why. So let me explain. So as you sit all day or your muscles accrue damage from lifting or injury, right, they're gonna tend to form what are called adhesions, or commonly called knots. These adhesions are primarily due to scar tissue building up within your muscle, causing it to adhere and stick together, kind of like glue. So scar tissue normally gets a really bad rap. However, it's a normal part of the healing process. However, too much of a good thing is usually bad, right? So as you lift or you get some sort of injury, right, you're gonna get some sort of tear inside of your muscle fibers, right? Usually this tear is really small, especially in the lifting community. And for it to heal, it needs some support and some structure to hold it together so it can properly heal. So this is where scar tissue comes in. So scar tissue is a strong, fibrous material that will act kind of like a Band-Aid to cover up that micro tear, hold it together to really allow it to heal and rebuild properly. You can kind of think of it like breaking a plate and then try to glue the pieces together with super glue, right? The super glue would be the scar tissue in this situation. However, the issue really comes after the muscle has healed. So once the muscle is healed, ready to go, rebuilt, nice and strong, the scar tissue doesn't really go away by itself. So this leaves the sticky glue-like scar tissue within the muscle fibers of your body, which you don't really need anymore. And as it builds up more and more, as you damage your muscles and lift more and more, and it's gonna start causing your muscle fibers to stick together a little bit more and a little bit more. So as your muscle fibers get glued together, you can kind of... So as your muscle fibers get glued together, they're just gonna get shorter and shorter and shorter. They're not gonna be able to move as well, and effectively, they're gonna get glued shorter, shorter, and shorter until it really starts causing some issues. So imagine you have a piece of string and you tie a knot into it, right? So tying a knot is going to shorten the string's total length by a little bit, right? Which isn't really a big deal, but as you lift and you form more and more knots and scar tissue, right? It's like tying the string with more and more knots, which is gonna make it shorter, shorter, and shorter until it's a significantly amount shorter than it's supposed to be. So in this case, the string is basically just your muscle fibers, right? Although your fibers don't like physically knot up and twist like a normal knot would, they do adhere and they do become shorter and shorter, just like the string. So this shortening overall puts a lot of pressure on joints. So muscles commonly cross a joint, right? So like your bicep crosses your elbow joint onto your lower arm here. That enables your bicep to pull on your arm, right? However, if your bicep gets tight, it's gonna yank on that elbow joint, causing some pain and discomfort. So a personal example of mine, which probably a lot of people can relate to, is lower back pain. So back in the day, I used to get a lot of lower back pain when I squatted and deadlift. So naturally, what I did is I stretched and foam rolled my lower back, right? However, that didn't really seem to help. Later, I found out that my lower back wasn't the problem at all. It actually was my hip flexors that was pulling on my pelvis, causing an imbalanced tilt forward, which caused some unnecessary stress on my low back. So this is where foam rolling comes in. So since our bodies don't break down scar tissue, we kind of have to take the challenge on ourselves. This is why people often massage sore muscles, because they know that's how you break up scar tissue, by massaging the tissue and physically breaking it up. So as you massage and put more pressure on it, that glue is going to break up, allowing and freeing your muscle fibers to move normally again. So you could just keep going to massages, getting that scar tissue broke up. However, that could get expensive really quickly. That's why I recommend buying like a $10, $15 foam roller. You can really start massaging these knots out yourself. You can quickly massage large areas at once without getting your fingers sore after a while. So if you have pain in an area like your low back or your knees or something, right? 99% of the time, the problem isn't actually where the pain is. It's somewhere that's next to it. So if you have a muscle that isn't quite moving right because it's glued together and it's becoming shortened, it's gonna cause other parts of your body to overcompensate and pick up the slack. By picking up the slack over long periods of time, it causes that muscle to become overworked and fatigued, and that's where the pain's really gonna start setting in. So for example, I used to get a lot of pain in my knee, right under my kneecap, right? Oh my God. So what did I do? I didn't focus on my knee. I focus on all the muscles around my knee, so my calves, my quads, and my hamstrings. So as I went over each of these areas with the foam roller, I was looking for knots and adhesions. And what I found were some massive knots in my quads. Like, I'm kidding, and I shit you not, like literally like this big on my upper leg. So if you're gonna try this and you're unsure what a knot feels like, trust me, you'll know when you find one. So once I found this knot, what I did is I kind of just sat on it like a bird sitting on their nest with their eggs, right? You kind of just lay on top of the knot, on top of the foam roller, and that pressure over time with your body weight will kind of just work the scar tissue out, right? If you want to go back and forth, sure, that's going to help, but really sitting and pinpointing it and holding it is really what's going to cause that scar tissue to break up. It's important to note though, not to do this too hard. If it's way too painful and you start tensing up and like gritting your teeth, right? That's not good. What's happening is you're tensing up your muscles, which is the exact opposite of what we're trying to do, loosen them. So I held this pressure for about 30 seconds to 3 minutes, really depends on how bad the knot was. And for some added breakup, I also extended and bent my knee to really floss that knot back and forth onto the foam roller to really break it up even more. However, I wasn't done quite yet. So after you foam roll and the scar tissue has been broken up, you gotta stretch the muscle afterwards. So now that the glue's been broken up, the muscle fibers are now free to move a little bit more. So our muscles won't magically just lengthen after we get rid of the glue, right? So we need to lengthen those muscle fibers out to really get them back to where they were supposed to be. So after you stretch, hopefully this will elongate your muscle fibers so they can move normally again, relieving the pressure on any joints that you might be feeling pain in and allowing it to move normally again. So you might have to do this over and over again to really break up enough scar tissue to make a significant difference. For example, for my quads, I've been trying to massage these out for about 2 months. It's helped a lot, but I'm not completely done yet. I just had so much scar tissue. So I've been doing this for about 2 months. The knee pain is gone, but however, I want to prevent that knee pain from ever coming back. And that's what brings me to my next topic. So I can hear some people typing in the comments already like, well, I don't have pain, I don't have to stretch, I don't have to foam roll. However, I would highly recommend that you do this anyways. Sure, you might not have pain now, but as you lift and accrue more micro tears, that scar tissue is going to build up and eventually will cause some pain in the long run. So why wouldn't you just foam roll and stretch at the beginning of each workout, right? It only has to be about 5 minutes to prevent any buildup of scar tissue, right? So why would you wait for the pain to come and then have to deal with it and break it down later? So just prevent the problem from happening in the first place. So that begs the question, what should you foam roll and stretch? What should be your procedure? Honestly, everybody's a little bit different, so everyone should be focusing on where the pain is. However, I do recommend foam rolling everywhere to prevent future injuries and pain from happening. But you should really focus on what hurts. So if you have shoulder pain, for example, like I had shoulder pain, right? I massaged out my biceps and my lats in the back here, right? So those are really cool. Those are like touching your shoulders, right? And my shoulder pain started to go away, right? My knees, I did my quads, those are fine. I had some ankle pain, I massaged my calves, those are fine, right? You might have those exact pain points, or you might not have them at all. It really all depends on the person. However, one place I would highly recommend people at least trying is your hip flexors. So we live in a society where sitting down 24/7 has become the norm. And if you're one of these people, your hip flexors are likely very tight. And I'm willing to bet some money that you probably have some low back pain too. So I would recommend foam rolling your hip flexors and stretching them out to see if this really helps fix any pain of yours. And when you find a knot, just sit on it and massage it and foam roll it, maybe floss it a bit for about 30 seconds to about 3 minutes depending on the pain. And then afterwards, just stretch it for about a minute to really lengthen and elongate those fibers back to where they were supposed to be. So if you're trying to get in shape for summer, keep stretching, keep foam rolling. It's gonna keep you in the game for longer. And if you're trying to get ready for summer and lose weight, you might be doing a lot of cardio, which may be preventing you from keeping the weight off in the long run. If you wanna learn why that is, click this video right here. And of course, as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.